Hi guys, welcome back to the GoonerPod. Myself and Adam just going to do a little Christmas special West Ham preview. Ed, how are we doing?
All good. And you?
Yeah, all good, thanks, mate. Got any Christmas plans?
No, it's just me and Lauren this year. Um, just a quiet one. Watch movies, and then of course Monday football. So, how about you?
Perfect, mate. I'm be shortly travelling to my parents for a couple of days. Go and watch the local football team on Boxing Day because they have their local derby, and then settle down for the Arsenal game in the evening. Lots of pigs in blankets and Brussels sprouts, hopefully, things like that, you know.
Yeah, not so much the spreads for me.
I think that's probably one of my favourite bits about Christmas. Is the dinner. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can have a
I think
roast
as you
dinner.
grow up, as you grow up, it's more about the dinner and actually spending time with your family and having a break off work. Obviously, as a kid, it's
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
what have you got? But no, it's I'm looking forward to dinner. Always looking forward to dinner.
Yeah. Well, we dive into it because we're not going to keep everyone waiting too long today, and obviously people are busy with Christmas things like that. I wanted to ask you: did you see Jesus' post? I think he put it on Instagram, probably made itself to Twitter as well, with him in his leg brace, but captioned "progressing,"
Yeah.
and also Arteta's comments in his press conference before the West Ham game about how they've not got a time frame on it and they're taking it
Mhm.
day by day. And he was very, I thought, not rude, but abrupt in correcting the journalist that said to him about it being mid-February for return.
Yeah.
Do we think that he's going to be back far quicker than anticipated, or are they playing things down because it's actually potentially a lot worse than we thought?
Um, I see it two ways because obviously after he had his operation, he was posting videos. I think his wife also posted something of him walking with his crutches, and he looked in high spirits. He didn't look like a player that had been told he was going to be out for 3 months. And then I also seen that post, and I also seen the comments that Arteta made, but I kind of feel like they don't want to give too much away. I think it all depends on how much rest he can get and how he handles it like mentally as well. Like you've got to think about setbacks and you don't really know what's going to happen. But I don't I don't feel that from the first post where he was quite in high spirits after the operation, everything that he seemed like a player that was told he was going to be out for 3 months. I think it does seem to just be speculation. Um, I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's not going to be that that length of time, but you can never really read into things too much.
I don't know if I missed the diagnosis, but I don't recall ever seeing anywhere actually what the issue was and what he's had corrected, what the surgery was for. I don't recall Arsenal or Brazil
Mm,
disclosing that information at all. So again, we don't know the extent of the injury. It's all online
mm,
speculation, isn't it?
yeah,
A lot of it will be clickbait. A lot of it will be trying to anger the Arsenal fans, trying to derail our season. Um,
mm,
all we can do is just sit and wait, I suppose. I mean, continually, again, I don't really see us being linked to any centre forwards, which would suggest that he's not going to be out too long and they're just going to stick with Nketiah
mm,
in the team. And why shouldn't they? That's what he's been given the contract for, I suppose, isn't it? And kept at the club. You don't just go out and buy somebody because someone is injured. You wouldn't have that luxury in September. So it's only because
no,
we're so close to the window, I guess, that our minds go into overdrive really of what we could do. But
mm,
and I guess if a player's available and we want him, we can go and get him. But it's still seeing links to midfielders or wingers or even right backs and left-sided centre backs more so than strikers. So
mm.
part of me thinks that he's going to be back a lot sooner than we think. I wouldn't be
I'd
surprised if
hope so.
Arsenal aren't making him walk around in a leg brace just for show.
I don't know. I'm hoping it's not as serious as it's been made out to be. But I mean, if you lose him for one game or you lose him for 10 games, it's a massive loss, isn't he? He's a big player
Yeah,
for us. So um,
he
it's a
dictates
transfer
play,
deal,
doesn't
like
he?
you say. Yeah, I mean, I've read this morning we've been linked with a loan for Joe Felix for the last, I
Yeah,
don't know, I don't know, maybe to the end of the season or, whatever. But I mean, it wouldn't hurt to get a player of his quality in if
no,
that's actually what we need. But I mean, if JC's only going to be out for 2 months, then whoever you get in, if they're going to play in that centre forward role, they're going to have to play in a different position when he comes back. And it's the same with Eddie. He's literally going to fill a gap, and I think he knows that. But it's a big gap to fill. So just having Eddie alone, it seems like a huge risk not to get at least somebody in on loan, at least somebody to come on to give Eddie a rest because he's not at full match fitness. So I know we're not linked heavily, but I think we do need to be getting somebody else in regardless because we've got a lot of big games coming up.
yeah. João Felix, it seems the obvious one to me. If
Yeah,
from what I read this morning, €9 million for the rest of the season, plus taking on his wages. I don't suppose he commands anything higher than what we pay our own players anyway, because Atletico aren't that sort of club. So it's a very doable deal for Arsenal if they really wanted to. And I'm pretty
it's a
sure he'd be
no-brainer,
open
isn't it?
to it as well. We play
Well,
his style
he's
of football,
playing,
don't we? He's well
yeah,
suited to us in that regard, I think.
and it's playing time. It's playing time for him. It gives him a taste of the league without any pressure really.
Yeah,
But he's a versatile player as well, isn't he? So he is the kind of player that can play in that centre forward position, but can also, go into another attacking position if we needed it. Obviously, his quality it is. I wouldn't say no. And I think 9 million is for a
no
player of
brainer.
his quality. It's brilliant business. It just becomes difficult if it really really takes off. And then they slap like a massive price tag on him. But obviously
Yeah.
that's reading too much into it. But yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him for the rest of the season, given the minutes.
If you was
Be a
Edu
brilliant
then,
signing.
and you did try and do a deal for Felix, would you try and negotiate a summer fee as part of it, so
Um,
they can't take the piss once June rolls around? Have that fee in place already. They've agreed to accept if we want to trigger it,
I'd have it as an
like an 80
option.
million. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No, I don't mean like an obligation, but have that an
yeah,
option there, so you've got that future fee agreed if you wanted to activate it. Because, like you say, they could easily say, "Oh, well, he's had a good 6 months. We want 120 million now."
yeah. No, I think it wouldn't hurt to put that in. He might settle in really quickly. He might be a really really good player for us, and then depending on obviously which position he plays and what happens with the rest of the squad, it just takes the pressure off a little bit um, for the rest of the season. And if he does do really well, um, it takes the pressure off us as well, not having to stump up big money to keep a player that's kind of settled in. But I'd like to see it get done on a
Yeah.
loan basis and just see how he goes because he could come in and it could be really. I don't think it would be. I think he is young enough to adapt and he's got the quality, but you never know, do you? So
For me, it's a no-brainer,
yeah,
absolute no-brainer. But I think Atletico might be quite difficult to negotiate with, considering the way the Thomas Partey transfer
mm,
conspired, and I don't think they were too happy with how we conducted ourselves with that one. Although they only got themselves to blame, they could have had more money if they were willing to negotiate
yeah.
a payment structure. So yeah,
Well,
we might find them a tough cookie to crack. But what works into our favour and anyone else that's chasing Felix is that he's on public record, isn't he, saying he wants out.
yeah,
Um,
and he had a good World Cup as well. He looked
yeah,
he looked he looked good.
yeah,
He had some
yeah,
really good performances, and I think you're right in what you said. He suits us, and it's good for him to get the minutes. We're in need of a backup. We're in need of somebody of quality. So, and that's what Arteta keeps saying. It's about the quality. It's about somebody who can come in and add something to the team. If you look
yeah.
at him, for me, I think he's a player that can add something definitely.
Yeah, I think loan with an option to buy um, is perfect all round.
Mm.
Certainly something I'd like to see done. Just moving on to another cryptic post was Edu. he always seems to do this before the start of a transfer window. Post a photo of him cooking,
Yeah.
which obviously sends a lot of our fan base into overdrive. But do you think it's just coincidental? He like posts photos of his home life just to show that there's a different side to him, or he is actually saying, "Look, something's about to happen."
No, I think there is definitely a lot of meaning behind it because we all say it as fans, don't we? It's like when we want somebody to sign a contract, we put in the pens with the hand with the pens, and we send that message. And I think Walcott was one of the first ones to actually pick up on it when the fans started doing it. And obviously, Edu Cooking is one that the fans have kind of taken to. He is a fan of his barbecues, but he does tend to. I think he interacts with the fans, but not in a public way. So I think the window's open. We've been linked with a couple of players already, and I think he knows what he's doing. Is the best way to answer that. I think he knows exactly
Yeah.
what he's doing. So, yeah, I don't
I'm
think it's
happy.
a coincidence. I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm happy to be corrected on this, but I'm fairly sure he posted something similar just before we signed. It was either Jesus or Sinchenko in the summer. Um,
No, I think you're right.
and I forget who the player was last summer. Possibly Ben White, who was the expensive one, was in Dodge. But yeah, he does do it. Before it seems to be like a week or two before the transfer window, he'll post himself cooking.
Yeah, no,
I
I think
like
he
it. It
knows what he's
makes me
doing.
laugh. I think he's very much becoming a Mr. Arsenal, isn't he? I think it's great. I like that sort of interaction with the fans as well. It's not giving anything away, but sort of keeping your mind at ease, isn't it? That they're going to be doing something and they're going to be adding players to the squad, which is what we all want.
It reminds me a little bit of the Wenger grin. When he used to be asked
Yeah.
about a player, particularly Ozil, he was asked about Ozil. He kind of, did his grin. And then, like the following days, obviously we were, we obviously got him. I think it was deadline day, wasn't it? We got him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he knows what he's doing. Is the club are very interactive with the fans at the moment. They're aware of you know what what the fans are doing. I think they're more interactive, aren't they? The fans are obviously close to the club, and the club are close to the fans now. And I think he's aware of how the fans interpret that, and I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He's saying we're firing up without actually announcing that we're in talks with anybody. I think.
Mm. Yeah, it's a clever hidden message, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But the fans
one that,
are latching onto it. We are realizing. So
yeah.
it's it's a bit of fun, ain't it? It's a bit of banter, really. So yeah, I enjoy seeing it.
Have you watched the Arteta interview with Carragher yet?
I actually haven't. I've seen bits of it.
Have you not? So
Obviously feeling it over the last few days, so I haven't actually watched it. But I have seen bits of it. I've seen some of his quotes. I've heard him
yeah,
talking about what other teams do and how they remain successful and successful and sustainable. And I think a lot of people are watching it and thinking, obviously after All or Nothing, I think people got a real insight into him, and I think a lot of fans warm to him and can see like his passion. It's good. The one thing I took from the clips that I saw is it's actually good to see him smiling. He looks happy. Obviously, he said that they're exceeding the targets, the plans that he had. So it's good to hear that we're moving in the direction that the club wants us to move in. But I've not actually watched it in full yet, but I will.
yeah. So I've only seen part one. I don't know when part two comes out actually, but it might already be out. I haven't seen it yet. But part one, it was fairly insightful. It wasn't all about Arsenal, which was quite good. He had a lot to say about his relationship with Guardiola and revealed a few things that I don't think anyone expected him to say either. I won't spoil it for you because you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it was quite insightful into him. He's a very intelligent guy. You can see that, and he absolutely loves Arsenal as much as the rest of us do. So, it's taken a lot of people a lot of time, myself included, to get fully on board with him. But now we are. We've got to enjoy what he's doing, and he's so so ahead of what I thought he would be as a manager. The way he thinks about everything, absolutely everything. But his revelations in the interview are quite good. So you'll enjoy it when you see it. You'll know what I mean. He makes a few references about when he first decided to get into coaching. Like, I think he started doing his badges when he's mid-20s, which is quite young. And that was to develop the way he plays. Obviously he changed his position, didn't he? As he got older, he become a holding midfielder rather than what you'd call a number 10 today. So yeah, very adaptable, but he comes across brilliantly. Reveals a good few things about Pep as well, which was quite insightful into how he works and their relationship, which goes back years, not just the Man City days, but years and years before it. So yeah, it was a good watch. I'll be looking forward to part 2 on that. I don't know when it's out, but I don't know why they do things like that either. Why not just release the whole thing? Why split it into 2?
I don't know.
Just put it on. If it's 40 minutes, put it on.
I mean, if it's like hours and hours, like obviously All or Nothing was, then obviously it's different. But yeah, I don't know if they just like to test the waters and get everybody fired up or what.
Maybe.
But
I mean, Carragher is perfect for those sort of interviews anyway, because I think he's quite on board with the Arsenal project, isn't he? Like he recognises the progress. It's not like Neville, who was just belligerent to it last year and said, "Oh, they didn't make 4th. That's it. They're done." But Carragher sees things. He's got more lateral vision than Neville in that sense. So he's perfect for the interviewer's role as well with it. He understands it. He gets it, which made it flow a little bit better. There's quite a good, you can see camaraderie between the two of them.
Yeah.
And obviously they played against each other and they were pros at the same time. So there's, they've walked the same path, if you like. But it's a good watch. Well, we'll just finish up, mate, on a bit of a preview on West Ham. I noticed that Arteta said in his press conference that Saliba is back at the club, so I'd expect him to start. Would you?
I would, but I think he's treading the waters for a yellow card, isn't he? Which would be a suspension. So okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that. I will double check. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that I read that he's very fine to get in a suspension. So obviously we've got West Ham, then we've got Newcastle, and then we've got
Brighton in between.
Brighton in between. And then obviously the home games. The 2 games that we've got coming up in January are obviously United and Spurs. So it's kind of, do you chuck him in, risk him, and then he gets suspended for the Newcastle or Brighton game, or I'm not sure how fine it is. I just remember glancing through the article saying that he was getting pretty close to a suspension. So
what do you think of that rule? I think 5 yellow cards is too low for a suspension.
I think they need to look at it as a whole, not a whole basis rather than just a number. Because I mean, if you think if a player gets a yellow card for taking too long to take a throw in, it's very minimum. You've got to look at the game, like the game as a whole. Whereas the game's much faster in the Premier League. The refs seem to just throw yellow cards out willy-nilly in some games, and in other games, you could write down somebody's shin and not even get anything. And certain players don't get yellow cards because it just seems like there'd be uproar if they did. It does seem a bit daft, and I think you probably need to look at it on a basis of how many games that player's actually played. There should be a ratio rather than a fixed number.
I think 5 is too low a number before you get banned. I think it's ridiculous, especially as you've already basically summed it up in today's game. You get a yellow card for just breathing too heavy on a football pitch. Some of the refereeing decisions have been atrocious in terms of soft yellows and that over the years. 5's too low, especially for a defender.
Yeah, for a defender, because obviously and for the defensive midfielders, because that's their job. If your striker's getting 5 yellow cards a season, then something's not right there. But I think for for a defender, in a defensive midfielder, I think it's too low.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny actually because Jesus was on that tightrope, wasn't he? All through October and November, he got 4 yellow cards in his first 5 games, I think, or 6 games, and then didn't get any for the next 7 or 8. He's obviously been told, do not leave your foot in, do not do any daft yellows because we need you. And now he's out injured instead.
Yeah.
No, I think Saliba's susceptible to a silly booking. I've seen it a couple of times this year. So, but I'd rather he played West Ham, got booked, missed Brighton, which is 2-3 days after, which, considering his lack of game time, might be too much to expect him to do 290 minutes in 3 days anyway. Chuck Holding in, who that game away from home would suit him better because he's more of a defender than a ball player. And then Saliba's fresh, ready for that run of games in January. Not saying he should deliberately get booked against West Ham, but I'd rather he missed Brighton than Newcastle, Spurs, or United. And I'd rather, just given the nature of West Ham being quite a dangerous side on the counter-attack, he plays over Holding. And you just take that risk.
No, I think he's obviously the first choice, but you're trying to think about like the next game, and I know you have to take game by game, but we know how important he is. We know how important he is for us, and I mean, there's always the option as well of Tomiyasu playing it right back and putting Ben over as well. So we have got options, but
I was just about to say that, but he's not been training, has he, Tomiyasu?
No,
because this was going to be my next point. As our injury list seems to be creeping up a little bit again at the moment. So they've got, obviously, Jesus is out, but we don't know for how long. Nelson's out potentially for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, he's posted a message today as well. He posted that. So, I mean, he didn't put too much on the caption, but obviously he's been confirmed that he's got to be out for a few weeks, and obviously he's going to build up.
Probably ruins his chances of staying at the club as well, which I know he was devastated about. Zinchenko hasn't trained since the warm weather camp, so God knows what's wrong with him. Tierney didn't play against Luton. Nothing's been said about it. It probably is just don't overload him. But we don't know. Tomiyasu's not been training. Smith Rowe is still not back.
I think they said he's got to build up his fitness. That's on Smith Rowe.
Yeah,
because they don't want to push him.
I can see him being on the bench.
And he's a good player to bring. He's a good player to bring on, though, isn't he? He's that's where he was coming from at the beginning of the season, wasn't he? He wasn't necessarily starting, but when he comes on, he's got that energy, hasn't he? I think
it feels like this period of the season where it's all crammed in, like one game after the other, isn't it? We're light,
and if you ain't got the squad big enough, it's gonna have an impact on your results. And I think West Ham. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say Lukonga was also missing against Juventus.
And
I don't know if he played in any part of Luton as well. So it's another option that wasn't available. Like, they seem to have dropped like flies. Do you think we pushed them too hard in the break, going and having another pre-season? And we've had 5 friendlies in 2 weeks, which we spoke in the week, didn't we? And I couldn't believe we was playing Luton midweek.
The Luton one didn't make sense because we just played Juventus. That one didn't really make sense because we've already had that kind of warm up before West Ham. But I don't know, maybe the club felt it was right, the staff felt it was right to try and get the fitness up a bit more before we play West Ham. But like you say, you run the risk of losing somebody else, and it wasn't like it was all the kids playing Luton. It was first team players. I never really know what point.
If he had played Luton midweek because Smith Rowe needed an hour on the pitch and a couple of other players that were coming back that just needed that bit of, I could have accepted that, and you just filled the rest of the team with the youth team. I could have accepted that, but first choice. It was a daft risk. I know we got away with it. I don't think anyone got injured in the game, but I don't really see that anyone gained anything out of it either.
No, I mean, it
And
was
with
just,
with a squad as thin as ours, I don't want to be seeing those sort of risks, to be perfectly honest.
no, definitely. I mean, the only positive is that if we did lose somebody, we've got the window. But, we they did it last year, didn't they? They wouldn't bring anybody in unless they were,
Players that they
the
wanted
right
to.
profile and the
Yeah.
right price. And in the end, obviously, we didn't do what we needed to do. But, um, yeah, it was a bit concerning because it didn't make any sense. It wasn't something that was like scheduled in with, obviously the cup that we obviously just had in Dubai, and then obviously the game back home against Juventus. It didn't really make sense to have that game unless it's a fact of, obviously we've got Saka, obviously Martinelli's back. They're all back from the World Cup. That's the only thing I can think of, just to get the team together again as a team before actually playing a competitive match. But it doesn't really make much sense other than that, and it is a risk. Luckily, I don't think anybody was injured, but
No, I don't
you
think
know,
there was. Maybe he
all it
just
takes
wanted
is,
to, maybe we're going to have to lean on a few of the younger players a little bit and wanted to get them up to speed with the first team, maybe because a couple that you went to the Juventus game, didn't
yeah,
you?
yeah,
I'm probably going to absolutely crucify his name, but is it Cozier Dewsbury? Is that his
yeah,
name?
yeah, yeah. He
The
looks, he looks,
youngster. He looks very good out wide. And Nwanwari,
yeah.
Nweri, whatever his
I've
name is.
seen him. I've seen him a couple of times. He
Yeah.
looks like a really lively player.
I mean,
But I think,
Juventus game was disappointing as a whole, wasn't it? Just the
yeah, I mean,
scoreline, but he played
Reese
all right.
going off was Reese going off was the main thing, because he looked really lively. He had a couple of shots. He was pulling all the strings, and then obviously he went down.
Yeah.
Went off. We had a couple of goals scored, but they're obviously offside. Um, but it's kind of what you expect, isn't it? It's just a friendly. But when the young lads come on, they looked, they're taking an opportunity. So they'll probably look up to the likes of, Saka, Smith Rowe, and those guys, and this is my opportunity to show what I can do. And if we get the right play with the right quality, it's another option, isn't it? It's always good to see our boys getting the chances.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
they've not put a foot wrong from what I saw
So,
against
so
Juventus. So
what are you expecting Monday? Are you expecting pick up where we left off, or I think it'd be a tight, cagey game, which will just about
um,
edge, and that's all I care about is getting the 3 points out of the game. But uh,
I
there's a
I
bit of
think
worry inside me, if I'm being honest.
I'm not worried. I'm not
No,
worried. It's our crowd. It's our crowd. We've Saka's been brilliant the whole time. Martinelli's been brilliant during the World Cup. I think they are going to come back and pick up where they left off. But I don't think it's going to be an out and out pasting for West Ham, because they are a good team. They've got Rice as well, who's a quality player, and they can hurt you if they get on the counter. But I think the team have played so well, so consistently for the beginning of the season, even though there's been a break. I don't I don't really think that's going to impact. I think they know each other well enough that when they come back together, they'll just get the business done. And obviously, it's our crowd, our home crowd. But I don't, like I said, I don't think it's going to be like a 3-0 game. I think it might be like a 1-0, 2-1 kind of game. They expect
yeah,
to win, and that's
I
that's
think
all that
1-0.
matters.
I think 1-0. I think I work with a couple of West Ham fans, and they both have told me they've got a lot of problems up front. I think Scamacca's
Mm,
out. There was a doubt about Antonio,
yeah,
possibly Ben Rama. I'm not 100% sure on that. And a couple of injuries at the back as well. So they've got their own problems.
mm,
Obviously, they hadn't been playing well, but it is a London derby. It's the first game back after such a break. Missing Jesus is a massive worry because I know he doesn't. I know he's only got the 5 goals, but the way he plays absolutely dictates the tempo for us, and how he brings others into play and gets in the box. And and everything like that, creates chances, doesn't he? Create space for others, and I don't see that Eddie's got that in his locker. Certainly not to the same level that Jesus, produces. So I'm a little bit worried in that sense. But if Eddie's when he's played this year, he's got 3 or 4 goals, I think, in the Cup and Europa League.
Mm.
He's obviously played in a heavily rotated side, so maybe him playing with the rest of the first 11, you might get the best out of him. I mean, he did all right at the end of last year, didn't he, in the team that was, as strong as it could be. So,
I mean, he did well against Chelsea as well, and I think when we went through that period of like having the wins and then obviously the losses, we were expected to lose the big games, and he turned up, and I think everything he put on target, he converted to a goal or similar. It wasn't too far off. But like you say, I watched him against Juventus, and I was just thinking this is a massive step off in quality compared to Jesus. And I think I'd message you that night, and I was quite annoyed because I was starting to get worried and think, how are we gonna go through the season with Eddie? And then a few days later, I started to think, actually, he's not played in a full squad, a full strength squad. Let's just see how he goes. I think he's either going to be the main man or he's going to be the backup. And I think if he takes his chance, I still think he'll be second choice when JG's comes back, just because of the kind of player. But they played well together as well, haven't they? Watching them play together. I think it was pre-season against. I can't remember who we played now. It's actually when I met you, wasn't it? And they played well together. They took well together. Looked down. Yeah, that's someone.
Yeah.
Because Gabby got the hat trick, didn't he? But yeah, I think we just need to be patient. He's not.
Fulham was a game this year. Eddie changed when he come on when we was 1-0 down. He come on and played with. I know he played with Jesus, but he was fantastic. I've seen him a few times, and he plays really well with his back to goal at times. And I think you can do it. You just got to have that consistency. But I watched the game against Juventus on the website last week, and I thought he should have scored twice. And then all of a sudden, you're not even having that conversation. When he
it was offside.
Yeah, and he hit the post, and he should have scored. And he will finish chances.
It's not at the time. If he can get a consistent run of games and get his confidence, he will get you goals. And I don't worry about this team anymore. Of okay, we just need to focus on that centre forward, that striker, because Gabby, Saka, Odegaard, Xhaka, they can all score. Thomas as well. And then obviously our defenders, Gabriel, Saliba, they can score. Ben White will have a crack, here and there. And the same with Tierney, he'll have a go. So it's not like we just need to look at one player out of the 11. It's all of the outfield players that actually can get. I mean, Gabby. I think Gabby was offside. He scored, didn't he? And he was off. Oh no, he headed it and nearly scored. And then it was ruled out. I think it was offside or a foul. But again, it's not just one player. It's all of them. But I think if he can get his confidence up, he will get us goals. And it's not going to be just Eddie needs to this. The whole squad needs to step up in JG's absence. And I think they will. I think they will.
Yeah, no, I'd like to say I think with him playing with Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka, you'll get the best out of him as opposed to what the Europa League team was with Marquinhos and Vieira, who was still struggling to get up to speed, and whoever else we chucked in the pitch at the time. There was no cohesion or fluidity between them all. But I think, I want to see. We beat West Ham away 2-1 last year, and he didn't score, but he was brilliant that day. He bullied their defence. He ran in behind. He shrugged them off in the shoulders. He rattled them. I think Declan Rice ended up squaring up to him because they were just rattled by him. I want to see that for 6-10 games, however many games he gets in this team before Jesus gets back. Run your arse off. Run yourself into the ground for the team, because the chances are he's probably available for transfer in the summer.
Yeah,
and it's for his own future as well. Absolutely for his own future as well. If he comes into this team and falls flat on his arse, no one's going to be looking at buying him. and he's just going to be subject to a career on the bench. Whereas I do actually think he could play Premier League football from a Leeds or Palace or something like that. So it's as much for him as it is for Arsenal as well, that he grabs this opportunity with two hands. It's what he's been waiting for all season, isn't it? He's not had really any minutes in the Premier League because we've not needed to use him. And obviously, the game's been going really well with Jesus up front, but this is now his opportunity. This is why they give him that big contract in the summer.
It's a lot of pressure as well. It's a lot of pressure for him. It's a lot of pressure for him to come into as well. To even match up. They are completely different players anyway. But I think he will take his chances when he gets them. But I think the fans need to also do what I didn't do the other day and get behind him, because he's, at the end of the day, he's our player. We signed the contract. We've been screaming for loyalty from our players. He signed the contract. He stayed, and then we've kind of just been like, oh God, when we lost Jesus, and actually, he's not. Eddie hasn't had the time that other players have had. He's had to come on and be given the opportunities. And I think he will take it. I think he will cause trouble for the defence, and I think he will convert for us as well. But we need to start supporting our players the same way that we did with Jesus when he didn't score for 9 games, wasn't it? 9-10 games.
Yeah,
he deserves the same respect. So we've got to get behind him. I hope he does get a goal on Monday, or at least has a really good performance. I think it'll be massive for his confidence, especially with the games that we've got coming up. So we just need to get on with it.
Do you know what I think as well is Arteta really likes him, and if you look at Arteta's record with getting people out of the club that he's not deemed good enough or fit for purpose for the project, they've all gone. There's no one left, is there, to dispatch everything? Only maybe a couple that we've loaned out, Pepe and that, but they're not seen as problems, are they? They're just gone out on loan for one reason or another.
Yeah.
He's specifically wanted to keep Nketiah at the club. So maybe we just have to trust that judgment that he is good enough. Maybe we just need to see it on a consistent basis.
And he's spoken about having 2 players of quality in every position. So maybe Eddie's that second player to Jesus. Maybe that's his chosen player. So we've got to remember we only see 90 minutes from him, and that's if he starts. Sometimes we don't see like 10, 15 minutes of him. But Arteta's with him training. He gets to see so much more than the rest of us do. And if we've learned anything, it's to trust the club, trust Arteta, definitely. Because actually he knows what he's doing. I think we just have to, if we don't go in and get a centre forward, I still think we need to. I think we do need to, not because Eddie's not good enough or anything like that, simply because if he gets injured, we've got nobody. So we have to get a backup, or at least somebody to come in and take the pressure off him. Yeah.
So we're nearly out of time, mate. Just quick score prediction.
I'm gonna go 2-1.
2-1. I've gone 1-0, and I'd be over the moon with it.
Yeah, 3 points and 3 points.
Exactly. That's this period's not about playing well. It's about, obviously that helps, but it's about accumulating as many points as you can. Leeds have got City, I think, have they, on the 28th. So I don't know why it's 2 days after everyone else, but probably because of the Carabao Cup, actually. But
they played.
They didn't need to have the Carabao Cup on Thursday either, did they? So it's a story for another day. But if Leeds can do us a favour, that'd be nice. But yeah, so fast approaching the end of the show, mate. Bud, have a great Christmas.
And you too.
Have a nice chill out, recuperate a little bit. I know you've been under the weather a little bit in the last month, haven't you? So yeah, and I'll be doing the same. I'm going to get myself ready and then go and pour myself a nice couple of beers at my mum and dad's and chill out for the night, mate.
Sounds good. Hope you have a good night.
Yeah, I'm sure their little puppy will be running, jumping all over me when I get there as well. So looking forward to it. yeah, and that brings it to a close, I think, bud. Thanks for everyone for listening, and hope everyone has a good Christmas and New Year. And we'll be back next week. Should we do one next week after the Brighton game, maybe? Get a couple of games
Yep.
in? Yeah,
Yep.
okay. We'll sort it out for them. Cheers, guys.